Hi, I'm Michael Ian Black, and I'm a husband, a father,
Did I just throw a baby?
liar,
You're so young and skinny.
German rental car clerk,
Would you like a GPS, Mr. Black? So we may keep track of your movements?
game show host,
Ding, 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 ding. Number one answer on the board.
temptress. Not a father to an illegitimate child?
I never had to deal with an unwanted pregnancy because when I was single, I was always very careful not to give my partner my correct contact information.
And most importantly, a noted expert.
It's a job I'm pretty good at.
Catch my new special, Michael Ian Black, Noted Expert, premieres Friday, May 13th at 10 p.m.
That's just science, you guys.
Michael, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Feel it.
Do I curse on this or no?
You can curse.
Fuck yeah. Now, the people who are in the audience, are they just recruited? Is it just like a company thing where it's like, we got to go to the stupid thing?
It's everything that you would feel comfortable hearing right now while you're on the stage.
So yes is the answer. It's just like, we need to fill the seats, so.
It's company, it's NYU students, it's random people off of the street. I can point out a couple weirdos out there if you want me to. There's a couple homeless people that come every day, so
I think I see them.
We provide a good service, Michael.
That hasn't been my experience to this point, but I trust you that that's the case.
Michael, I loved your special. I thought it was fantastic, and it did something that, as a fan of yours since going back to the state, something that you do so well, which is sort of mock your own ability to be good on camera. You've always seemed to mock your sort of on-air presence capabilities, and you sort of do it at the beginning of this. I'm wondering if you, even though you have a career on camera, if you're actually slightly uncomfortable with being an actor or on-camera personality.
Oh, deeply uncomfortable. Not even slightly. Deeply uncomfortable being on camera. I don't like seeing myself on camera, particularly now that I'm in my 40s and my face has just decided to get super fat for no reason. I took a picture this morning with, and I'm not gonna say who it was a celebrity named John Cena, and and my face just looked like a pumpkin in the thing, and so I constantly find myself looking at myself in the mirror going, am I just morbidly obese and I'm unaware?
Only in the face.
I'm only morbidly obese in the face, and I used to be such a handsome young man.
Wait, your head looked big even next to John Cena? I mean, John Cena has a massive head.
Yeah, but it's compensated by the fact that he's massive everywhere else.
Oh, okay, I see. You're just...
Yeah, comparatively speaking, I'm just a pumpkin on a stick now. Now, why are the chairs so far apart?
Do you want to get closer?
A little bit. It just
right.
seems a little bit awkward to me that we're so far apart.
But I'm gonna move my water over too, because I gotta...
All right. Right, the way people engage with each other.
Can I ask,
They don't normally talk 6 feet apart.
Does this work for our crew? Are you guys okay?
Oh, they love it.
Okay. It's a little more...
I know how AOL works. They're non-union. They don't get a say in how these things go, right?
Do you feel like we should be closer to the audience too, or do you think we're okay?
I think I'm all right from the audience. I could get a little bit closer.
We
to
can
the
get a little
audience.
bit closer to the audience. Here we go. Hey, don't forget, you gotta get the water too. All right, now we're...
that seems better, I
Okay,
think.
that seems pretty good.
I mean, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but this is how you should do your job.
No, I'm okay. Whatever I said, like I said, whatever makes you comfortable. This could be an audience of experts or an audience of homeless people, or the chairs could be back there or up here. However you're
What
comfortable,
makes me
Michael.
comfortable is actual, real human interaction. The way that people normally interact. So when we're 6 to 8 feet apart, I feel like I don't normally talk to people that way, and it makes me self-conscious, more self-conscious than I already am.
Were you self-conscious when we first sat down?
Yeah, I'm always self-conscious. I mean, look, I'm in a bad place right now emotionally, so that's not helping things. But then I get here, and you're a football field away, and I can't see those baby blues. And I just wanna connect, you know? I just desperately want to connect.
What are you self-conscious about today?
Like I said, my pumpkin face, and I'm nervous that the special that everybody tells me is good is not good.
No, it's very good.
See, I don't believe you for a second.
Fuck, I'm usually so good at selling this.
Right.
No, it's very
Well,
good.
because when you
It's
show
great.
up at places, this is a little behind the curtain showbiz thing for everybody. When you show up places like at AOL or I was on the Today Show and they say, "Oh, we watched your special last night. We loved it." What I hear is, "I watched 3 minutes of your special, then I turned it off because I hated it." That's what I'm hearing when people say
That is not true for me. I gave you a reference to the special that was about maybe 30 or 40 minutes into the actual special.
That's right. What was the reference?
The reference was
Oh, to getting arrested.
getting arrested,
Oh,
yes.
that's right. Yeah. We both got arrested.
I've been arrested. Pretty badass. You guys look at me, you didn't know that.
We got arrested, not at the same time and not together, but we've both been arrested on separate occasions. I talk about it in my special, and Ricky talked about it with me in the green room. He killed a girl. Was I supposed to say that or not?
I specifically asked you to keep that to yourself. It's not a big deal. She was under the 15. It didn't matter. She hadn't lived
They
a
just
full
turned
life.
on you so hard.
That's why I don't actually do stand-up, because I would constantly get them to turn on me.
Now talk to me about your Reeboks, which I feel like are very old school.
Yeah, they are vintage Reeboks. I purchased them off a website. I like them because they are vintage enough to seem cool and geriatric enough to be comfortable at the same time.
What do you pay for a pair of vintage Reeboks?
$70.
That's actually not bad. That's not a bad price at all.
No.
Were they
they're
used?
cheap sneakers. No, they are new.
Huh.
I can't really do used footwear.
I was going to say, what's the vintage? What year?
I believe 80s.
80s.
Yeah. They remind me of like a working class British guy in an 80s like Mike Lee movie or something. That's kind of what I get out of them.
Yeah, and I mean,
That reference is over a number of heads, I'd imagine.
I know who Mike Lee is.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So, Michael, you start this special with talking about being someone who is a professional at getting shows canceled.
Well, it's something that I happen to be very good at, yes.
How many shows at this point would you say?
I don't know. My understanding is that this has been canceled and we're not even talking to anybody right now.
In the midst of this conversation, they pulled the plug.
Yeah. Once I started talking about the Reeboks, they were just like,
Once I said I killed a girl under 15, they were like, we're done.
I don't know. I've been on a number of canceled television shows. I can't seem to keep anything on the air, but that streak seems to have broken because now I'm on the Jim Gaffigan show, which is entering its second season, and Another Period on Comedy Central, also entering its second season. So I seem to have broken my streak.
But isn't success in entertainment, specifically comedy, and
Overrated?
TV?
No.
No, not at all. But isn't success just getting the shows on the air? The fact that you can get a show on the air is, most people don't, they just get development deals. They don't even get actual shows on the air.
Yeah, that's true to a point, but it's like anything else. In a career, you get to a certain point and you're like, well, I'm at this point, and now I'd like to be at this point. And in my case, this point is staying employed for more than 6 weeks at a time. That's what I would like.
Is it only 6 weeks?
Tends to be about 6 weeks before they pull the plug.
So what do we had The State, which was, that had 2 seasons, right, on MTV, and then you guys moved to
Well,
CBS.
seasons are a little weird on cable, but we did about 40 episodes.
Do you guys remember The State? The State was one of my favorite shows when I grew up.
Thanks, guys.
And you guys all still work together. We got to see the Wet Hot American Summer, first day of camp, which was
All right, that's doing
phenomenal.
its second season too, so that's,
You really?
I really am killing it these days.
That's going into a second season?
Yeah, we're doing the second season. It's called Wet Hot American Summer, 10 years later.
So it's I guess it would
Early
be
90s.
Early 90s. So I guess the question is always, is Bradley Cooper coming by again?
I haven't heard. I don't know. I don't know.
Were you surprised that he made an appearance when you guys rebooted it, considering he's, quote, so busy?
A little bit. So we did a movie called Wet Hot American Summer, which was Bradley Cooper's first movie. Then last year we did a television series called Wet Hot American Summer, First Day of Camp, and Bradley showed up in that. And I don't know if he's going to do this or not. I hope so.
Wasn't that crazy? The rumor was that like you guys shot all of his stuff in like a day and a half or something like that, and most of those scenes involved you.
Right. Yeah. For some reason, David Wayne and Michael Showalter, who created it and write it and directed and stuff, don't want to talk about how long Bradley Cooper shot or didn't shoot.
Oh, my fault.
Which I think is a weird thing to not want to talk about. Like, who cares? But they don't want me to talk about it, so I want to talk about it.
You've been working with those guys since the early days of the state. How much do you think your voice comedically was sort of honed already at that time compared
not
to
at
how
all.
it is now?
Well, we started as a college comedy club at NYU, and I didn't know anything about comedy.
Were you a serious actor?
I was. I was determined to be a very serious actor. Like I figured I would be a theatrical actor who spent his career touring regional theaters, doing the classics. Why is that funny to you? Why is that funny to you, Ricky?
Touring regional theater,
doing the classics, yes.
As a goal, as an initial goal to me, sounds sort of like you're underselling yourself.
Well, because I come from a place where...
Unless you already know that is a really great career for an actor.
For me, I thought that would be a great career. I thought, because I didn't know anybody in showbiz. I thought if I can make a living touring regional theaters, doing the classics, that would be like a life well lived.
Glass Menagerie.
The Glass Menagerie, Ibsen's The Dollhouse, Inge's Picnic.
Pinter's, I don't have a Pinter one
either.
off the top of my head.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Classics.
The classics. So I thought if I do that, like that would be great. Like I'll tour the country and I'll make $300 a week and I'll, eat macaroni and cheese and it'll be great. But as it turns out, God had a different plan for me, which is to put me on basic cable television.
For 6 weeks at a time.
I'm waiting for the applause that... I'll say it again. Basic cable television. Thank you.
You really hooked them with that. I didn't know they were such basic cable fans. And now I think they are.
They are.
How much do you find yourself when you're doing something that is straight comedy, like you're doing this, you're writing it, you're performing it? How much do you find yourself going back to those times, the things that you learned with those 12?
Well, I think it's like anything where it becomes ingrained in you. So, like when I'm doing high-level math, as I often do, I don't think about, well, this is how you do a quadratic equation, because it's so deeply in me that I already know that.
You have like a beautiful mind.
Thank you.
Or Good Will Hunting. Those are the only two references that I have for high-level math in movies.
Yeah, when I do high-level math. So it's like that with comedy. It's like my comedy is at a beautiful mind level. If math were comedy.
Have you ever auditioned for anything serious?
Yeah, but not in a long time. I don't get those auditions. I don't know why. Yeah, it's been a while since anybody would even consider me for something dramatic, which sucks because drama is so much easier because you just say things like he's dead, and then they put music under it, and people are like, he's a really good actor.
I completely agree. I think it's one of those weird things that we always say, oh, dramatic actors are working so much harder. I don't necessarily think so. Comedic actors have a lot more to do.
So much harder because they expect you to be funny, and that's so hard. But it's so easy to be dramatic. I mean, like my dream job right now is to be the guy who is like in a procedural show who's just behind the computer all day and just says things like, I'm almost in. I need another minute. I'm almost in. Like that, that guy probably works 1 day a week.
Are you Are you like the hacker stuff?
Yeah, I'm like the hacker.
So you need like a Twizzler or something in your mouth.
Great, whatever it is, whatever my affectation is, fine. But I want to be able to sit at a desk and have my lines taped to the computer monitor. I just need another second and I'll be in. How great would that job be?
Here we go, and we're in.
Oh. And then you're talking to the guys like running down the street and dodging bullets and like all this shit, and I'm just like, keep it together, man, keep it together. What a great job
Jack
that
Black,
would be.
an enemy of the state.
Great.
I think that's
Perfect.
Yeah. Have you auditioned for this? Or tried to
No,
tell
I
your
don't get
agent
those
to put you out
auditions.
for
I
this?
would love that job. Think about how much money like those people make for doing nothing. It's like what you're doing. You know what I mean? Without the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for letting everyone know, for applying that, because it's true. When
What do you make? What do you
What?
make?
What do I make? $50,000 a day.
All right.
You talk about your kids and you talk about your family a lot in this. Was that when you started doing stand-up? What point in your career were you at, and how did you feel about sort of tapping into your personal life?
Well, it was very deliberate on my end because I was in probably my early 30s when I started doing stand-up, which is late for people who do stand-up. And the reason I started doing it is because I was on these VH1 shows, I love the 70s, 80s, 90s, and whatever, and I started getting offers to come and do stand-up. And I always knew it was something I wanted to do, but I was always afraid to do it. And I thought, well, I just got to buck up, and it's kind of like now or never. And when I started doing it, I realized that the kind of comedic persona that I built for myself, which I think is best exemplified on those I Love the Decade shows, was very like stoic and sarcastic and didn't open up at all about anything. And I felt really confined by that, and I thought I needed to open up in my stand-up, and so I started talking about my real life and real things.
How did you feel doing stand-up in your early 30s? As you said, most stand-ups sort of start with stand-up, and they're in their late teens or early 20s, and they sort of push ahead for about 10 years before they get any recognition. But because of the state and the I Love the Decade shows, you sort of had a built-in fan base. Did you ever have any kind of like sort of push and pull with other stand-ups who were kind of like, oh, come on, man, we've been plugging away for a while here?
I mean, I think the only one who really cared was Marc Maron, who gets upset about everything.
Do you guys still have a contentious relationship, or are you good?
Yeah. The answer is yes. Yes, we have a contentious relationship, and yes, we're good.
I can never tell, because you've done the podcast.
You guys know Marc Maron, right?
You've done the podcast before,
Very
right?
few of you know who Marc Maron is, which makes me feel great.
You've done his podcast before. I remember listening to them, and there you guys seem to have a slightly contentious relationship too, where it gets to a point where one of you doesn't know if the other one's joking anymore.
No, neither of us is ever joking when we're going after each other. Like, it's not a joke. I mean, it is and it isn't. It is in the sense that we understand there's an audience and being entertained by our loathing of each other, but the loathing isn't really put on.
Why does he loathe you?
Because he, in the early 90s, when we were both kind of starting out, me with the state and him doing stand-up, he was very resentful of the state for our early success when he felt like he was doing the real work of getting up on a stage and bleeding through his eyes comedically. And as you can imagine, like watching somebody bleed through their eyes for fun, like that's a challenge. You know what I mean? So he didn't have the early success that maybe he felt like he deserved and resented the fact that we did. But now he's doing great.
Now, why do you loathe him because of his initial resentment, or is it something different?
No, my resentment towards him has only to do with his resentment towards me and me.
He started it.
Oh God, yeah, and I think he would admit it.
He's had to admit it before with a lot of people.
Yeah, he's an asshole. But in truth, like, we get along much better now than we ever did before.
What's the worst that ever got to with the two of you?
No, nothing really. Just like
screaming-
verbal digs. Just
Never like a screaming match
no,
at a comedy club.
We're both like, middle-aged Jews. Like, what are we gonna do to each other? You know what I mean? At the worst, it's gonna get litigious. You know what I mean? It's not.
So you say as well at the beginning of this special that you hadn't been doing stand-up in a while. Did you record this special without having done a fair amount of sort of like prep performances?
No, I did several months of touring in anticipation of recording this special. So it was a little bit of a fudge on my part when I said I hadn't been doing stand-up in a while.
How long had it been before those months, and did you feel rusty getting back into it?
I think as a stand-up, you always feel rusty if you haven't done it. For me, it's like a week or two, and I feel rusty. I think it's like the way like an athlete or something, if they don't, I'm gonna just in baseball we talk about getting our cuts, and that's when we're in the batting cage getting our cuts. If I don't get my cuts, I start to feel a little rusty.
How do you get your cuts?
Go to the baseball cage and take batting practice.
What speed do you usually, go on for the cuts?
90.
How does 90 translate to the analogy of comedy?
Shit. It doesn't. No, I mean, anytime you get up and you haven't done it for a while, yeah, I feel rusty. And hopefully the material is still working, but it definitely takes a while to get back up to speed. Like doing interviews. You haven't done interviews in a while, you're a little bit rusty, like the way we are right now.
Very rusty. I have to ask,
But I imagine you've been doing a lot of interviews.
Yesterday, yeah, I do a lot of interviews every day.
Right.
Do I feel rusty? Again. I have to ask, one of the things that you talk about in this is having kids, and you are a sort of inherently, it seems, sarcastic person, and you embrace sarcasm and embrace the side of you that could seem like you're being a dick. How do you temper that with your kids?
I don't.
How do you temper that?
I don't.
Do you worry that they're going to be...
Dicks?
Even more dicks?
No, I mean...
Bigger dicks than you?
It's a slightly weird way to put that question. Because I have a son, and...
But don't worry about that part. Just, emotional dicks.
No, I think they're better people than I am. Maybe because they're growing up in a better household than I grew up in. So I think they know when I'm being a dick to them for comedic purposes. But they're far worse to me than I am to them. I mean, I'm like the butt of the joke in our household constantly. It's like an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond where I live. Where, oh, Raymond, you're such a fucking asshole.
So they know how to bust balls a little bit.
Oh, that's all they do with me, yeah. Yeah, that's all they do.
How do they get you?
It's whatever. Dad's ugly, dad's fat, dad's stupid,
fat
dad's fat head, dad shouldn't be a comedian, Like what the critics say, same stuff.
Walter Kerr says.
Walter Kerr says.
See, I watched the special. I think I'm going to turn it over to questions from the audience.
Hi, Michael. Over here. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Disembodied voice.
Looking forward to watching the show, and a personal thank you. This is the closest that we've been to Ricky, so thank you for giving us a
You want
good
to
start
touch him?
to our day.
Come on up and touch him.
Maybe after.
No, come on up now.
Best day ever. Go
That
back
was
to your
nice.
spot.
Thank you.
So
That's it.
So as a
No, he's right. Next question.
What was the
Go
question?
ahead.
So as a comedian, you're always working on new material and new jokes and whatnot. Is there a particular theme or story that you always try to, that you're like proud of, or a happy moment that you did telling a story or anything? No?
Well, no, but the most recent thing is, and I hate to go back to this because I've already mentioned it, this will be the third time, is this morning on the Today Show with my friend John Cena.
Were you on the Today Show this morning?
I was.
Wow.
One of the ladies, Tamron, I think that's her name, Tamron, was teasing out at the end of my segment and said, when we come back, we're going to show you how to make a secret ingredient for making great new barbecue sauce. And I said, cocaine. And they all looked at me like, you can't say cocaine on the Today Show. And I felt pretty good about that.
For some reason, and this is such a deep reference that reminds me of something that you said on The State that I always remember. It clicks in the back of my head. You say, when we come back, we're going to learn how to make little edible luggage. I don't even remember what. Do you remember what sketch that was?
I have
even
no
called?
memory of that, but
That is like this weird line that clicks in my head anytime I hear someone.
And
tease
I
a
said
cooking
that?
Show. Yeah.
That's very funny.
It was a sketch where Thomas Lennon had monkeys.
Oh, the monkey torture sketch.
Monkey torture sketch. Yeah.
Right.
That was the sketch.
That's funny. Little edible luggage.
Yeah, so stupid. Little edible luggage. Next question.
Hey, Michael. I know you like to write, and you've done children books before, and you have one coming out about Donald Trump. I was wondering how you like doing writing as compared to performing.
Thank you for the question. I do have a book coming out about Donald Trump called A Child's First Book of Trump. And I look at writing and performing almost like, not the same thing, but very similar. I consider writing part of my job as an actor in a weird way, even though sometimes I'm just saying words that other people wrote for me. And when I write, in a sense, it's performative because it's my training. So, like, my daughter makes fun of me because when I'm writing, I'm often doing this. Like making faces and talking as the characters sort of silently to myself. And so to me, they're kind of similar things, and I like them. I like them both. I will say acting is easier and pays better.
Can you talk about your book about Trump at all?
Sure. What do you want to know?
What does it consist of? What is
what
is a child's first book of Trump consist of?
Okay.
Got to get those cuts in for it. You know?
So it's a book about, it's like a sort of pseudo children's book, although it's really meant for adults, about what you would do if you were to see a wild Trump. It's like a field guide, like how do you identify it? What are its characteristics? How does it behave? What do you do if it confronts you? And it's all told in rhyme, like a Seussian rhyme. It's adorable.
Next question.
Hi. I have a couple of weird questions for you.
Okay.
First of all,
Did you write them down on your phone?
I have a quote that my brother wants me to read to you.
Okay.
We were watching an old home movie, like when my brother was like 8, and he quoted you from the state, and he wanted me to tell you. And it was Captain Monterey Jack saying, "You can go walk a mile in a man's shoes, but to get inside his head, you'd have to get really small and crawl up in his nose." And so he just wanted me to share that. Second of all, so I read You're Not Doing It Right recently.
That's a book I wrote.
I know. And
But they don't know.
Oh, by Michael Ian Black. And you mentioned that some barns upstate New York that you used to go to with your wife, renovated barns, and my parents lived in a barn upstate New York, and we're convinced that it's the same barns. I was wondering if it was in New Paltz.
When you say barns.
It was like renovated barns, like yellow barns, you said.
Oh, I did?
That's what you said in the book.
Okay, it's the same barn.
Okay. My final question is, are you going to do more Topics episodes with Showalter?
Oh, Topics is a podcast that I do about topics, serious topics, with me and my friend Michael Showalter. Well, the problem is it seems like entirely unavailable, because since he moved to Hollywood, California in the past couple years, he had twins, and his career has taken off like a rocket as a writer and director. So he's had no time for me. I would like to continue to do it. He says he wants to continue to do it, yet he's made zero effort to continue to do it. So take it up with that motherfucker.
He came here a couple weeks ago.
And what did he say?
He said that the technology is difficult to like administer between.
Yeah,
the
that's
two of
what
you.
it is. It's the technology. We're having servo problems. That's the issue.
His career has taken off, hasn't it?
Yes.
Jealous?
He's doing great. He just made a movie called Hello, My Name is Doris, which won some awards, and he's...
It's actually, I think, box office-wise, the most successful independent film of the year so far.
Is that true?
I read that like a couple days ago. I was surprised because I hadn't seen people talking about it that much in regards to that success, but apparently it's the most, if not one of the most.
That's fantastic. And he's directing a movie for Judd Apatow's company, starring my friend Kumail Nanjiani. Oh, great. He's doing great.
That's fantastic.
He hasn't asked me to be in it, so...
Congratulations, Michael Showalter. Next question. I believe this is our last.
Hey, Michael, thanks for coming. I love your Twitter, and I mean all your specials and everything, too.
Thank you.
I see you actually put in an effort to try to engage with people on Twitter and explain to them why we need to remedy complicated topics like remedying past discrimination. Where do you find the energy to engage in these conversations with people?
Here's what happens.
lacks the energy to engage in this conversation.
Well, I feel like I'm of mixed mind about this. First of all, it's worth saying I've never changed anybody's mind on Twitter. I don't think anybody's mind has ever been changed on Twitter about anything. But the reason I engage with people who disagree with me is in the hopes that somebody who's reading or following the exchange and maybe doesn't have as strong an opinion about certain things as I do is persuaded to think about things in a slightly different way than they might have had they not read that conversation. And so that's why I do it. It's in lieu of doing any kind of volunteer work or charity work or helping people in any way, shape, or form. I yell at people on Twitter. Which that's my contribution to the world.
How often do you find that the people you're yelling at on Twitter or whose minds you're trying to change just a little bit, how often do you find that they're just trolling you and they're just trying to
Oh, they're
trying to
always
get a
trolling me.
response?
It's always trolling. But I don't yell at people. I was actually lying about that. I actually make a very deliberate point to not yell, not name call, and not engage, don't respond to trolls with troll-like responses. Instead, what I do is I ask them very direct questions about whatever topic they want to engage in, and the result is that people find it very disarming, and they end up having to respond in a serious way to serious questions. And in that way, you can often get a very good conversation going, or they reveal themselves to just, be garbage monsters.
Like Marc Maron.
Like Marc Maron, yeah.
Michael, I have to let you go. The special is this Friday, right? At 10 p.m.?
Yep.
Friday, May 13th?
Yep.
And it's fantastic. It's really funny. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.